Here's what you probably don't know. If you want to retire early and think that you can't, it's not about chasing one magic number. It's about 5 tactics that can actually speed up your retirement timeline. So if you want to retire early and think you can't, this episode is for you. Because we hear this from gay men all the time. I want to retire early. Well, let's be honest. Most of the time it's, I want to retire yesterday. But then the next sentence usually is, I don't know if I have enough. I don't know how much money I actually need. I don't know how to get from here to there. This is where most retirement advice makes everything worse. It tells you chase this one gigantic, scary number. One that oftentimes is so big, it makes you want to close your laptop, pour a cocktail, and work on it later.
Maybe.
So what if it's not about chasing a big number, but about strategies that can help you see the real problem, build the right income bridge, protect your health, and avoid making retirement decisions from panic? Hello, Rainbow people. It's David.
And John. And today on Queer Money, brought to you by Optimized Investment Partners, more on that in a minute, we're talking about the 5 tactics that can help more gay people retire earlier, retire better, and maybe even retire abroad without turning your financial life into a one-man production of Les Mis. And by the end, you'll see why the better question isn't, do I have enough? The better question is, do I have the right money in the right places at the right time for the retirement I actually want to live? Here's why this matters. A lot of gay men think that retirement planning is really about dollar accumulation. Save more, invest more, work more. But really, early retirement is a lot different. It has its own set of questions. How do I stop working while I'm still young and healthy enough to actually be able to enjoy the life that I've been working so hard to build?
Right.
How do I cover life before Social Security? How do I cover healthcare before Medicare?
Yeah, here's where a lot of retirement advice gets it wrong. It's not just a money decision.
No.
It's also a time decision, a health decision, a freedom decision. And for many gay folks, it can also be a safety, location, and relationship decision, and a decision about how much longer I want to continue working under fluorescent lighting. So today we're breaking down how to actually speed up your retirement timeline. And if you would like to speed up your retirement timeline and tell that boss to shove it, let us know by posting a green heart in the comments on YouTube.
The financial services industry loves for us to focus on a big retirement number. 2 million, 3 million, 4 million.
Size queens.
Right. But that big number is really misleading because a lot of people aren't really solving one retirement problem. They're at least solving 2. The first problem is, how much does my portfolio need to cover after Social Security, pension, and other income sources kick in? That's your gap. The second problem you have to solve is, how do I cover those years before those income sources start? And that's your bridge. And when you separate those 2 problems, retirement starts to look very different. Because instead of asking, do I have enough money to cover me for the rest of history in perpetuity, you start asking, what does my portfolio need to cover later? And what do I need to do today to get from here to there?
So the first tactic that we are going to talk about here that can help you retire earlier is this idea of stop chasing one giant number. That's old school gatekeeping that serves others better than it serves you. Instead, we want to replace it with 2 specific numbers. The numbers that John referred to, your gap number and your bridge number.
You listen to me.
Let's say your dream retirement costs $80,000. Well, most people then immediately assume that they need a portfolio that's big enough to cover that $80,000 for the rest of their lives. And if you do the 25 times math, that means you need $2 million. Well, that for a lot of people makes retirement impossible and keeps us working forever. But what happens when Social Security kicks in? What happens if you have a pension? What happens if you have a rental property? What happens if you have a business that you are retiring from and you still get income from? That's pretty nice. And what happens if you retire abroad and your cost of living goes down and your quality of life goes up? Now you need a portfolio that doesn't necessarily need to cover that full $80,000.
This is why I think people need to realize the financial services industry and financial advisors, they do a great job. But they're paid by assets under management. They want you to continue to accumulate money and put it into your accounts in their firms so they can continue to charge you more and more money. And likewise, the government wants you to continue working and working because that's more taxes for them. So having a strategy like this can help you realize, for most people, many people can start retiring earlier and start living the life they've always wanted.
Right. The more money you have in your retirement accounts, the more money they make off of you.
Right.
So the money that you need may only need to cover the difference between your lifestyle and the other income that you're going to bring in. That is that difference. That is that gap. But then there's the bridge. The bridge is the money that you need that helps you get there, helps you get to those income sources that are coming. So if you decide to retire at 55, like I did, and you want Social Security to kick in at 67, you have a 12-year bridge. So that doesn't mean that you need that $80,000 or every dollar to last forever. Some of the money may be designated to be spent down during that time period. It has a purpose. And that's for a lot of people, that's where the light bulb goes off, or goes on, I should say, that, okay, maybe I don't need $80,000 every year. Because the same amount of money can look very different depending on where it is, or when it's needed, or what job it has. Some of your money is for your bridge. Some of your money is for your gap. Some of your money is for emergencies. Some of your money is for long-term growth or healthcare. And heck, some of your money might be for the decision to say, yes, we're absolutely going to Spain for 3 months because joy is part of the plan. This is why so many people get paralyzed by that one giant number. But two specific numbers can give you hope as well as confidence. The passé question is, what's my magic retirement number? The shiny new, we know you love that. The shiny new question is, what money do I need? When do I need it? And what job do I give to each of these dollars? That's where retirement planning starts to feel less like doom math and a little bit more like strategy. And to be honest, this is the exact question that we help a lot of folks answer in our retirement readiness reviews. We use the Queer Money Retirement Calculator to help establish all of these numbers for you.
And it's so fun to see the light bulb go on for people when you show them the numbers and you present them how they can, if they do spend some money today and save some money for later and save some money in their emergency account and save some money for a big trip, they realize with the right structuring, they can actually retire early.
Exactly.
And so many of them are lacking confidence that that's a possibility, but you see the confidence come to their face. It's really exciting. So the second tactic here is building your income bridge before you leave work. Not after, before.
No, now!
Because one of the biggest fears about early retirement is accessing your money. A lot of people have money, but it's locked away in a retirement account. And this was our situation in early 2025 and was a catalyst for us trying to figure out, how do we access this money so we can retire early or at least semi-retire early? People look at their 401k or their IRAs and they're like, great, I've got a lot of money, but I can't touch it without the IRS coming at me like the Grim Reaper.
That's what you kept on saying to us.
Exactly.
How do we have all this money but not be able to access it?
Yeah, I couldn't fathom it. So that's why you need to build that bridge. That's why the bridge matters. Your bridge is how you get from your last paycheck to your next income source without panic, without penalties, and without making bad decisions from stress. And here's where this gets strategic because there are several possible tools that people can use. The first is a taxable brokerage account, which is more flexible and doesn't have any age restrictions. But the problem with brokerage accounts is that a lot of people don't have them because they've been putting all the retirement money into a 401k or an IRA. And with the cost of living in the United States, there's not typically a whole lot of money left over.
That was the case with us.
Yeah, exactly. Then there's IRS Rule 55, which may allow for penalty-free withdrawals from a specific employer's 401k if you leave that employer in or after the year you turn age 55.
But only that account.
So you could have other 401ks elsewhere, but you can only tap that account of the employer that you leave after the age of 55. Then there's IRS Rule 72T, otherwise known as Substantially Equal Periodic Payments, which is the tool that we're using. And that allows for penalty-free IRA withdrawals before the age of 59 and a half. But the key here is that the rules are very rigid and they need to be handled very carefully.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting about this one is typically your financial advisor or your accountant, they're not going to know a whole lot about this rule, primarily because they don't want you tapping that money early. And for many of them, it is a taxable event, so they don't want to give you advice on that. So you will have to come up with or figure a lot of this out on your own. Well, you don't have to do it on your own. That's why we're here to help you.
Yeah, we can absolutely help. And then there are Roth conversion strategies, especially for the earlier low income years. And then there is plain old, wait for it, plain old, sexy, flashy cash. Or not so much.
Dollar bills, y'all.
Exactly. But cash can be the thing that keeps you from selling your investments or panic claiming Social Security too early because the market has had a temper tantrum. The key isn't that everyone needs to use every tool, though. The key is knowing which tools are appropriate for you, again, before you leave work. So before you leave work, you have to ask yourself, where will my income come in my first year? What will I do before I start receiving Social Security? What accounts can I draw on first and then second? What accounts do I leave alone and what accounts do I convert? And that's the bridge that we talked about earlier from the outset. And if you build it before you need it, the first year can feel a whole lot more calm and a lot less like you're screaming into some spreadsheet.
We definitely don't want you screaming into our spreadsheets. Please don't do that. And I think that this is really important, that this tactic here is all about setting up choices. What choice can I have or give myself? And give yourself a runway. I would say at least 5 years of a runway, because the Roth conversions, those you do need to have a 5-year window when you convert so that you can use them later. All right, this third tactic is all around understanding what early retirement can do when it comes to creating a powerful tax window for you. This is your opportunity to invoke Joan Crawford and say, tear down this bitch of a bearing wall and put up a window where it ought to be. You see, this is where many people miss the point of early retirement. They think early retirement is this dead zone. Oh my God, I don't have a paycheck. I don't have Medicare yet. Social Security isn't coming in. But here's the secret. Those lower income years can actually create opportunities. When you stop working, your taxable income may drop, and that actually is a good thing, as Martha would say.
God, you're just rattling off the divas today, aren't you?
Yeah. That's because you may have room to make some strategic Roth conversions at lower tax rates than you might be facing later. And this matters because later in retirement, you may be faced with things like required minimum distributions. Not may, you will face required minimum distributions if you have IRA accounts. You also may have Social Security taxes, depending on where you live. And so you'll have fewer ways of actually controlling your taxable income. But in the years after leaving work and before these retirement rules kick in, you have more control. And that control creates a window. And ladies, windows aren't just for dramatic staring. They're also for strategy.
That's what my husband's for.
Yeah. So this is also where you may be able to manage around your income around your healthcare subsidies, especially when it comes to Medicare and the couple of years leading up to Medicare, in which that's when they determine what your healthcare costs will be for Medicare. So you want to try to force your income down a little bit then.
Yeah, and we're actually taking advantage of Roth conversions ourselves right now. As many of you know, our last couple of years, our income has been a lot lower. So we're doing some Roth conversions so that we're building that bridge for later on in our early retirement life. But this is why it's all about strategy and planning, knowing what options are available to you, and then using the options that are most appropriate for you.
Right. So you don't want to wing it. This is where you get to kind of manage and choose where the money is coming from, where the money needs to go, or where what taxes you actually want to pay this year. And so it isn't about I saw a TikTok and then I converted all of my Roth IRA because Mercury was in retrograde. This is where it really is important to actually truly run the numbers, because Roth conversions can be powerful. They can affect your taxes, your healthcare subsidies, and your overall planning. And the point here is early retirement isn't about spending your portfolio. It's about how do I structure or restructure my future. So the old belief here that we want you to ditch is I can't retire because everything is harder before 65. And the better belief is the years before 65 are all about planning and creating opportunities for myself. It's less of the I'm trapped and more of a let's work this system before the system works us.
And most of us are conditioned to work the system, which is why we keep working and working when we may, in fact, not have to.
Yes, definitely.
The next tactic is one that doesn't show up a whole lot in traditional financial planning, and that is to treat your health as a financial asset. Because what good is a bigger portfolio if you're too exhausted, burned out, stressed out, or physically limited to enjoy the life that it buys?
You mean bigger isn't always better?
This is why the just work a few more years advice gets a little bit too cute for itself, because those extra years, they're not free and you can't get them back. They may give you more money, but they may also cost you sleep, mobility, relationships, energy, joy, mental health, and the version of yourself who can actually enjoy retirement. And that really matters. A lot of retirement planning assumes that the 65-year-old version of yourself can enjoy the money the 55-year-old version of you kept while you were working to accumulate more money. But newsflash, that doesn't always work out. What if the 65-year-old version of yourself is too exhausted? I mean, I'm 52 and I'm tired. Like, get this. The World Health Organization recently released a study that showed that Americans can expect to have only 63.9 years of full health. That came down dramatically since the pandemic. So that math ain't mathing. 64 years of full health, but you work for 65?
Yeah, I think that may be the reason why we hear so many stories. Over and over and over again, we hear these stories of so-and-so retired and then they died within a year. And that happens so many times. I think it's because people are spending all of this energy and time trying to get to that age where they will be able to start Social Security, be on Medicare. They work to get to that point, and they're expending all of their health care.
I think that
their health.
They're waiting till they feel just secure enough that they can relax. But those, your 60s, your 70s and 80s, they're not guaranteed.
No, they're definitely not.
So what if your health changed? What if your knees filed a formal complaint? What if your stress level spent the last decade doing the cha-cha on your blood pressure? Right, sir? So we talk a lot about lifespan, but we don't talk a lot about health span. And that really matters because health span is the period of your life when you're actually able to thrive and live. But that's not guaranteed because at 64, those years might be over.
Yeah, and I think this kind of reminds us of the phases of retirement. We've talked about it, and maybe folks you have heard other people talk about this idea of the go-go years, the slow-go years, and the no-go years. And those first go-go years are the years where you're healthy, you're vibrant, you're feeling excited, you're loving life, you're getting out there and you're doing things like hiking with your friends, or you're creating a new community, or having more sex, you're playing pickleball. You're doing those kinds of things that really excite you about being in retirement.
You just told everybody we're having more sex, David.
And then you move into the slow-go years when maybe physically and mentally you are starting to slow down a little bit. And that's natural. It's going to happen. Maybe you're not as excited about some of the things that you were earlier because of your health changing. And then you have the no-go years where your health basically says, you got to stay put. You don't have the mobility. And so you are moving. And oftentimes those are the most expensive years because you need a lot more healthcare during that time period. Some of us may end up needing somebody around us 24 hours a day just to take care of us during that time frame.
Yeah, so for a lot of gay men who want to be able to experience some more travel, to live abroad, to be active, to date, love, hike,
have more sex,
dance more, volunteer, start a second act or a third act, or simply wake up without feeling dread, early retirement needs to be part of the strategy. That needs to be part of the plan. And this is why wellness is one of the 5 building blocks of a happy gay life. You need to include this in a holistic approach to living a good, complete, and quality life. You have to include health in your calculations. So ask yourself, what is this job costing me physically? What is it costing me emotionally? What would I do if I had more time? Would I sleep more? Would I move more, cook more, connect more, have more better relationships, heal more, have more sex? Like, would I become that healthier version of myself so that I could finally get some of my time back from all those years of working? Because for some people, retiring early isn't just about a lifestyle upgrade. It's a health intervention. Your portfolio matters. Absolutely. That's exactly why we're here. But so does your body. Because your 401k can't salsa for you. Your brokerage account can't hike the hills in Lisbon for you. Your Roth IRA can't flirt badly in Spanish at a cafe for you. You need some health for that. So yes, treat your health as a financial asset, because without it, the rest of the plan loses all of its sparkle.
And I think that, you think about entering retirement. Do you want to enter retirement feeling healthy so that you can start to do some things like maybe exercising more, playing more sports, or doing more activities within your community? The kinds of things that actually can extend your health out.
Have more sex.
And if you're healthier at the beginning of your retirement and you're able to do those kinds of things, you potentially continue that being healthy and push out the expenses of poorer health care or quality of health towards the latter end of your life, when you really will need the money. And so you have more money at the end when you need it than at the very beginning of retirement, because you are actually healthier.
That's the goal. Retire early and have more sex. That's going to be our catchphrase.
All right. This next tactic is all about stress testing the plan before you retire. Now, this is something that after you have built your plan, we encourage you to work with a financial advisor to actually do the testing. They can help you with more calculators to do the numbers around these kinds of tests. And this is really the difference between having confidence and just hoping. Hoping says, I think we'll be fine, whereas confidence says we stress tested what happens when markets drop, when healthcare costs rise, when inflation gets spicy, or we just want to adjust or need to adjust our spending. Stress testing means asking hard questions before life forces you to ask those questions. These are the kind of what-if questions. And these aren't fear-based questions. They're actually questions that open you up to freedom, the kind of freedom that allows you to live a retirement that's unbound.
So that's our new approach to retirement, which we'll be talking more about, but it comes in 4 steps. First is asset accumulation. Second is cash flow systems. Third is tax strategies. And fourth is spending plan. More on that coming soon.
Yeah. Because once you know what kind of stress your portfolio or your retirement savings can handle, you don't have to make decisions from panic. You can actually pre-decide. So when the market does drop, you know what to do. Maybe it's reducing your discretionary spending a little bit. If the income needs to stay lower for healthcare planning, maybe you change what account you draw your money from. If inflation is hotter, maybe you delay a big purchase. The point isn't to predict everything that's going to happen. It's to stop being shocked every time a normal retirement risk happens. We do know during the time period that you are alive in retirement, markets will fall. Your healthcare changes will happen. Inflation, it will be there. Life gets lifey. And sadly, we know fascists become presidents. And the question isn't whether or not you will face this stress. It's whether your plan knows what to do when those stressors happen, especially when that stressor is wearing a messy wig and has bad intentions.
Sounds like a particular evening that you had once, huh?
Yeah, really, the important point here is that you know what to do when stress happens rather than acting out of fear. You actually have these kinds of decisions already planned out. And then it's easier for you to say, oh, okay, we'll do this instead of, oh my God, what do we do? And then make a bad decision.
And it's striking the number of studies that show that so many Americans live their retirement in fear. So many don't spend their money in retirement because they're always afraid that something's going to happen. And that's in part because they didn't do the stress test. 54% of Americans reach the end of their lives with some money in their accounts. And that's all well and good, right? They might want to inherit that to somebody, or at least, they didn't outlive their money. But when you think about that, roughly after 18 to 20 years of retirement, many retirees still have about 50% of their portfolio or 50% of their assets are still intact. They haven't touched them yet.
Right.
Which is just crazy. Speaking of retirement assets, what if you could have your dream retirement abroad? Optimize Investment Partners Portugal Golden Opportunities Fund makes that vision real, giving you daily liquidity, golden visa eligibility, and a path to EU citizenship. Tap the link in your podcast player to learn how to start your European chapter today. So here's the bigger truth. These 5 tactics aren't 5 different retirement tips. There are 5 ways of shifting from accumulation thinking to retirement design. Accumulation thinking has you asking, how much more do I need? Retirement by design asks, how do I use what I have in the right order to buy back my time? Chasing one big number is accumulation thinking. Solving for the gap and the bridge is retirement by design. Saving blindly is accumulation thinking. Building an income bridge with the wealth builder's pyramid that we talk about on the show all the time, that's retirement by design. Working longer by default is accumulation thinking. Treating health as a financial asset is retirement by design. And this is where early retirement starts to look a whole lot different if you give it the opportunity. Because many people don't need a bigger dream-crushing number, a bigger goal. It's almost unattainable these days. They need a clearer sequence.
Sequence, not sequins.
They need to know what money gets used first, what money gets protected, what gets converted, what covers healthcare, what creates freedom, and what money lets them stop working before the best years of their lives are in their rearview mirror. Retire unbound. This is especially important for gay men because we're often building retirements without the same family assumptions, the same support systems, the same inheritance expectations, or life scripts that straight people were handed. Many of us had to invent our lives once already. Now we have to design our retirement just as intentionally. And that is a shift. Retirement isn't just a number you hit. It's a system that you build. And that's what we're presenting to you today.
Yeah, it's time to reinvent yourself like Madonna going on tour.
Nobody can do it as good as her.
So what do you do with all of this information? Well, the first step is to calculate what your gap number is. And you can use the Queer Money Retirement Calculator that's linked in the description of this video to help you do that. Then you want to calculate your bridge number. And that also is a part of that Queer Money Retirement Calculator. Finally, you want to map out your sequence of income. When there are things coming in? And then look for those tax windows. And don't forget to include your health in all the math, especially for those of you who have a familial history of dying younger, because we want you to have a fabulous retirement and be able to truly enjoy retirement. And then finally, we want you to work with a financial planner who can help you test all of these numbers, to run you through the scenarios, all of the scenarios, so that you are prepared, because preparation is sexy. No, it's not as sexy as a beach house in Seychelles, but hey, it's close. And if you want help understanding what those numbers actually mean for your life, your timeline, and your next steps, schedule a Queer Money Retirement Readiness Review with us. As one of our dogs just walked in the room, it can help you get more clarity out of your options and prepare you for better conversations with your financial planner. We'll help you look at where you are, what you have, what you want in life or out of retirement, and what steps to help you either retire early, retire abroad, or just plain retire better. This is especially helpful for those of you who just want to feel more confident in your retirement plan, or at least that's what folks are telling us after they have gone through these reviews with us. They are more confident in the decisions that they have made, as well as the decisions that they are making. And here's the thing. Early retirement isn't always about having more money. Sometimes it's about making better decisions with the money you already have. This is our story.
And if you're looking for more videos on how to retire early, retire abroad, or just plain retire better, we've curated a playlist for you right here. Start there next, because the sooner you get clearer, the sooner you start building a retirement that actually looks and feels like you. And until next time, stay fabulous,
Not fabulously broke.